the experimental prediction because the gravitational force is extremely tiny and beyond measurement at present. However, any complete theory of the universe must account for all forces, however small they may be. And because the standard model does not contain gravitational force, it cannot be a complete theory. Now the first thought that will come to one's mind is that why not modify the standard model to incorporate gravity? Right? Just like we could modify the standard model to incorporate the mass of the neutrino, can't we do the same thing to incorporate gravity? And this is where the problem comes. Okay, so I'll try to illustrate this in this and the next slide. I have already told you that the standard model is based on the principles of special theoretical relativity and quantum mechanics. And so if we want to incorporate gravity into the standard model, the first thing we need to do is to make the theory of gravity consistent with the principles of special theoretical relativity and quantum mechanics. Okay, otherwise there is no hope of incorporating gravity into the standard model. Now the first step, which is to make gravity consistent with special theoretical relativity, this was in fact carried out by Einstein himself long time ago. Around 1915, he wrote down a theory called the general theoretical relativity. This is precisely what combines gravity and special theoretical relativity. Okay, so this is a very old story. But the second step, which is to modify the general theoretical relativity so that it becomes consistent with the principles of quantum mechanics, this turns out to be an extremely difficult problem. In fact, all direct attempts to incorporate gravity into quantum mechanics has failed. And this is the main difficulty in incorporating gravity into the standard model. Okay, this is the reason why you cannot simply modify the standard model a little bit and incorporate this tiny force, the gravitational force, into the theory. And this is where string theory comes in. Okay, the string theory, which will be the subject of the talk or the subject of the rest of the talk, provides a possible way out of this problem, and at the same time it also provides a possible way of combining a theory of gravity with the theory of elementary particles. Okay, and this is what I plan to describe next. So the basic idea of string theory is very simple. Okay, in fact it's so simple that this is not the way the theory was discovered. Right? The theory was discovered indirectly to people are trying to do something completely different. Okay? But eventually this is what people landed on. So the basic idea in string theory is that different elementary particles, okay, or what you think of as elementary particles like quarks and electrons and Higgs bosons and various other things, they are not particles at all, but they are simply different vibrational states of a string. And in fact, unlike elementary particles, of which there are different types, we have seen the whole zoo of elementary particles. There are quarks, there are leptons, there are various gluons, W bosons, W particles, Z particles, Higgs particle. According to string theory, there is only one kind of string, and the is also contained within string theory. Within string theory, one can estimate what will be the typical size of a string, and it turns out to be a length that is extremely tiny, 10 to the minus 33 centimeter. And this is much smaller. Of course, it's much smaller than any length scale that we see in our naked eye. But this is also much smaller than the length scale that can be taught by any present experiment. Okay, in fact, the present accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, which collides particles at very high energy and tries to probe the detailed structure of matter, can see only up to a distance of about 10 to the minus 16 or minus 17 centimeters. So we have a long way to go to reach this length scale. And this is the reason why string theory you cannot verify directly in an experiment. Okay, there are of course various indirect possible tests which I will mention later. So we see that the present experimental is the states of the string will appear to be particle particles. Now, given this situation, right, one would like to ask that why then talk about strings at all, right? Why not be happy with particles? And the answer to this question comes after studying some more detailed properties of the theory. So I have already said that we want to, any theory that we want to formulate, we want to make it consistent with the principles of quantum mechanics and special relativity. Okay, so these are the two basic principles which we should not sacrifice, because so far there is no any of these principles is violated. Now it turns out that when you combine string theory with the principles of quantum mechanics and special relativity, as a consequence of these two requirements, strings automatically exert gravitational force on each other. So in other words, gravity, which was so difficult to combine with quantum theory in conventional approach, comes out automatically in string theory. In fact, in string theory, it's exactly opposite. It's almost impossible to construct a consistent string theory which does not have gravity. Furthermore, the laws governing the gravitational force are automatically consistent with the principles of quantum mechanics and general theory. So string theory automatically gives a quantum theory of gravity, which is very hard to achieve otherwise. Now, given this, one would have expected that then why not just use string theory to modify Standard Model? And the reason that we cannot do it is because unlike theories of elementary particles, which have a lot of flexibility, string theory is almost inflexible. In string theory, you cannot just put in what you want. It's tightly constant so that we cannot adjust it to suit our needs. In particular, we cannot demand, given the things that are very familiar with. For example, you cannot demand that the dimension of space is what you observe in nature, that is 3. Okay, this is something that string theory automatically gives us. We cannot demand. Similarly, you cannot demand that different vibrational states of the string behave like elementary particles you observe in nature. Right? Because if we could demand this, then our problem will be solved. Right? Because we have already said that one of the vibrational states of the string is the mediates gravity. String theory automatically contains gravity. And then on top of that, if we also have other vibrational states which just have the elementary particles that we observe in nature, then we have a theory that combines everything. So you cannot do this by hand, we have to take what string theory gives us. Okay? So all our trying to describe what exactly string theory gives us. Now first of all, one finds that there are altogether 5 consistent string theories. There are 5 consistent ways that a string can vibrate, and these 5 consistent string theories have their own names, which I will mention sometime later. But there is only 5 and not more. And these differ from each other in the way the string vibrates. Okay, there are 5 different ways the string can vibrate, and that gives us 5 consistent string theories. Furthermore, one finds that in each of these 5 consistent string theories, the dimension of space is not 3, what we see in nature, but it's 9. Okay, there are 9 dimensions of space instead of 3 dimensions of space. Now, of course, it's hard to visualize a 9-dimensional space, right? How do you visualize a 9-dimensional space? And the only way we know how to visualize a 9-dimensional space is not to visualize, but describe it using coordinate geometry. Okay? So, in coordinate geometry, we know that 3-dimensional space will be described by 3 coordinates. So in the same way, a 9-dimensional space is something that requires 9 coordinates to specify a coordinate. Okay, that's the abstract definition of what a 9-dimensional space is. Now, this of course gives a mathematically consistent theory, but this is clearly not what you see in nature. Okay, this does not describe what you see in nature. We don't see 9 dimensions of space, you only see 3 dimensions of space in nature. So now the question is, how can you make string theory have anything to do with nature? It may be a perfectly mathematically consistent theory, but maybe it has something to do with nature. This, however, is not the end of the story, because it turns out that it is in principle possible to make an intrinsically 9-dimensional theory look as if it is a 3-dimensional theory. This idea was developed much before string theory, but this was developed soon after Einstein's theory was developed. So let's imagine that you have a 2-dimensional world with 2-dimensional people living on it, right? Let's take a plane of this, the floor. Okay, the plane of the floor. Now normally, when you think of 2 dimensions or even 3 dimensions, you can think of each direction as infinite direction, right? We believe that if you start going in one direction, we will never come back, right? We will keep going and we can go as far as we like. This will be an infinite 2-dimensional space, but that's not necessary. Right? For example, you can start from this point and start walking in some direction. If the ant starts walking in this direction, then of course it can go as far as it likes. But if the ant starts moving in this direction, then eventually the ant will come back to its original location. usual two-dimensional space that you imagine. And indeed, it's not that important because if, for example, the radius of this two-dimensional cylinder was very, very large, but now we want to consider the opposite situation. Okay, so you have a two-dimensional space, but now instead of taking the radius of this cylinder to be very, very large, let's imagine another limit, but the radius of the cylinder is very, very small. Now you can see that as the radius becomes smaller and smaller, the space starts looking more and more one-dimensional. Okay, and I, living on this, essentially have no freedom of moving in this direction, it can only move in this direction. Okay, because in this direction as soon as it goes, it comes back to the original point. In particular, if the radius of the cylinder is smaller than the resolution of the most powerful microscope that these ants might have, then for all practical purpose, this space will appear to be one-dimensional to these ants. And it turns out that the same idea works in making a 9-dimensional space look 3-dimensional. Okay, and this is the way we try to make string theory consistent with what we see in nature. So the basic idea is we take 6 of the 9 space directions to be small, describing some compact space K. And when the size of this compact space K is sufficiently small, then the space will appear to be 3-dimensional. Because we only see one finds that it's not possible to take any compact space K, okay, and make this happen. The mathematical consistency puts strong constraints on what kind of compact space K we can use for compact space. Nevertheless, okay, it doesn't fix this compact space K uniquely. There are in fact many different spaces K which can be used for compact space. So you can start from a 9-dimensional theory and carve out 6 of the dimensions into compact space, but that space can take many different forms. So even if we begin with a specific string theory, upon compactification there are many more possibilities, right? Because starting from the same theory, we can realize different compactifications, compact spaces, and those effectively will look different. Let's look at an analogy. We probably know that water, okay, is only one phase of H2O. Water can also exist, okay, or H2O can also exist in the ice phase or the steam phase. Nevertheless, the force between the H2O molecules is the same, right? We are not changing the molecule, and hence the force between the H2O molecules, whether it's in water or ice or steam, is the same. So if we could write down a single theory which describes the forces between the H2O molecules, then that in principle should have the ability to describe all these 3 different phases, ice, water and steam. And these different compactifications of string theory are essentially in the same state, right? We have the same theory, the underlying laws are the same. Nevertheless, there can be many different phases of the same underlying theory, and those different phases are characterized by the different choices of this compact space K. So one choice of K is like having one particular phase, another choice of K is like having another particular phase, and so on. Just like ice, water and steam are 3 different phases of water. Now you know from experience that the environment inside ice, water and steam are very different, and in the same way one finds that the 3-dimensional environment for different choices of the compact space K will be very different. If the space is carved up in one particular way, in 3 dimensions we will see one kind of properties of various particles, elementary particles and their forces. If the space is compact, is carved up in a different way, the 3-dimensional in the 3 dimensions the elementary particles would have very different behavior. And even the fundamental constants of nature, or what we normally think of as fundamental constants of nature, like the number of elementary particles, right? I gave a list of elementary particles and their masses, okay, the electron mass and the muon mass, the charges that they carry, will appear to be different in different phases. Now it turns out that for some particular choices of this K, the 3-dimensional environment is very similar to the nature that we observe. When I say it's very similar to the nature that we observe, what I mean besides that it has elementary particles and forces which are very similar to what we observe in nature. String theory also offers the possibility of combining this with the theory of elementary particles and their forces. Because while one particular vibrational state of the string is responsible for the force of gravity, in some specific phases can be responsible for all the other elementary particles and the forces that you observe in nature. However, I should also add that while some specific charges of K brings us very close to the kind of elementary particles and forces you observe in nature, so far finding a phase of string theory that has exactly the elementary particles you observe in nature remains an open problem. In many cases we find, for example, that we have the elementary particles that you observe in nature, but it also has some additional ones. Or in some cases, some elementary particles are present but not others. So, it's one of the challenging problems for the theory to look for a case of the theory that gives exactly the kind of elementary particles and forces that you observe in nature. And this is in fact still an ongoing problem. Okay, we still haven't found all possible phases of the theory. And you see that this is where the connection to mathematics becomes important, because in a sense finding all possible phases of the theory is equivalent, well it's not exactly equivalent because string theory is much more complicated, but roughly it reduces to finding the problem of all possible choices of the compact manifold compact space K that are used for constructing string theory. Now, from what we have described so far, it would seem that there are altogether 5 consistent string theories, each with very different phases. And this is indeed what was our understanding of the subject in early 1990s. And this was always somewhat of an unsatisfactory feature of the theory, because if we are trying to use mathematical consistency as a guideline to arrive at the fundamental theory of nature, then one would expect that the mathematical consistency should lead to one unique theory and not many different theories. Whereas our understanding of string theory till early 1990s was such that we have 5 different consistent string theories. Each of course can exist in many different cases, that is always there. But why 5 different consistent string theories? And if there are really indeed 5 different consistent string theories, then why is it that nature cube is one of them and not the other? However, this has changed due to subsequent research, and indeed now what we know is that the 5 different string theories are not really different, but they all give different descriptions of the same underlying theory. And so in a sense, we don't have 5 different theories, we really have one single theory, which has many different phases. And this theory has been given the name M theory. Sometimes you may have heard here the name M theory. M theory is not a different theory, but it's just a unified version of these 5 different string theories. Now again, the actual way we arrive at this conclusion is highly mathematical, and I will not have time, or I will not have either the time or the necessary background here to go through it. But what I will do here is to describe the situation again by drawing an analogy. So let's imagine that we